impactful initiatives that bridge the gap between innovation and application. As we embark on the journey together, I encourage all participants to engage actively, share insights, and explore new collaborations. Let this FDP not only be a learning experience, but also a launchpad for innovation and AI driven entrepreneurship in your respective domains. Once again, I welcome you all and wish you an enriching and inspiring FDP ahead. Thank you. To initiate the inaugural ceremony today, I would like to invite Dr. Rajni Sharma, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Chitkara University, Himachal Pradesh. Dr. Sharma is a distinguished academic and researcher with a PhD from Kurukshetra University, completed during his tenure at the National Physical Laboratory, New Delhi in 2002. With a career spanning over 2 decades, Dr. Sharma spent 6 years at BITS Pilani before joining Chitkara University, where he has served in various capacities for approximately 17 years. An accomplished researcher, he has authored more than 110 Scopus Index publications and has successfully guided 4 PhD scholars with 3 more currently under his mentorship in the fields of modern electronic devices and AI integration in educational technologies. Dr. Sharma is recognized for his passion for technology and his active involvement in professional activities. His global exposure through professional assignments has been enriched his academic and technological outlook. A senior member of IEEE, he presently serves as a vice chair of IEEE Delhi section, having previously held the roles of secretary and joint secretary. His leadership and contribution to the IEEE community reflect his dedication to advancing technological education and innovation. Dr. Sharma's expertise and enthusiasm make him a prominent figure in both academia and professional circles. Thank you for being here, sir. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vibha, for this elaborate introduction. I really didn't expect that. Am I audible? Will somebody please confirm?
Yes, sir, you are
Yeah.
audible.
So thank you so much for this great opportunity and making me a part of this inaugural function of this workshop titled as AIpreneurship, Building the Future with Deep Learning Innovations. I must compliment efforts from Professor Meenu Khurana, our Pro Vice Chancellor of School of Engineering and Technology, under whose leadership these kind of workshops have become now very normal thing, right? While otherwise, I can fully understand that how much effort goes in organizing these kind of workshops. I think the team led by Professor Meenu Khurana, team of Dr. Abhishek, now Dr. Vibha area, so I'm looking at, she's also become an important part of the team. They have been doing really wonders. Last year as well, they organized as many as I think 6 such workshops, and all the workshops were very hugely participated with around 70 to 80 odd participants in every workshop. So they are doing a great service to the community, academic community, in organizing these kind of workshops. I see Dr. Sagar Juneja as one of the participants in this meeting, and I know what his role is because this workshop is being organized as a precursor to one of the international conference which we have been organizing at Chitkara University since last more than 8 years now. We organized the 4th edition of the conference last year in October 2025. We call this conference as International Conference on Analytics and Networks, ICANN 2024 we had organized. But with the kind of large number of papers which we received almost close to more than 600 odd papers. And even after the last date of submission of the paper as well, we still continue to receive another 100 odd papers or so. So we didn't want to outrightly reject those papers, but we promised the authors that next year again we'll be holding another event, which will be kind of not precursor, as a supplement to ICANN 2024. So ICANN 2025 is being organized in month of July, 18th July 2025 in Chitkara University, Himachal Pradesh campus. So this workshop is a built up to that conference as well. And the conference is in joint collaboration with one of the Springer journals, which is Scopus Index Journal on transformative technologies and sustainable development. There as well, the response has been immense and huge because ICANN itself has been able to earn a lot of laurels since its last four editions, which have been conducted earlier. I'm very, very glad to see the list of the resource persons who would be speaking at this workshop. Professor Sanjeev Manhas, I see from IIT Roorkee, Dr. Sandeep Singh Sandhu, Dr. Ranjit Ranjan Jha from IIT Patna, Professor Shamik Tiwari from IIM Gurugram, Dr. Shweta, Dr. Sweetie Shah from NIT Kurukshetra, Dr. Shimmi Sudha Letha from PEC Chandigarh, Dr. Naina Yadav, NIT Jalandhar, Dr. Amit Doigar from Nitter Chandigarh, then Dr. Jagriti Saini, founder Eternal Ristim, Dr. P.S. Rana from Thapar, Dr. Seman Kithinki from BMS College, Bengaluru, Dr. Shalu Sharma from Bennett University, and Professor Akhilesh Kumar Sharma. I know Dr. Professor Akhilesh through our ACM contacts as well from Manipal University, Jaipur. And as all the participants will be able to note that we do have the speakers from all parts of the country, means east, west, north, south, wherever you talk of. So there are speakers from that. So I fully understand that the topic itself is so interesting and so enriching. I'm sure if the participants will be able to attend all the sessions with a lot of enthusiasm, they will definitely immensely get benefited from all these sessions. My big thanks to all the speakers who have very kindly agreed to or be part of these sessions. I see the timings of the workshop are every day from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. It means both the participants as well as the speakers have to work beyond the regular working hours of their respective workplaces. So thank you so much on behalf of Chitkara University, Himachal Pradesh, and simultaneously on behalf of our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Ashok Chitkara, and Honorable Pro Chancellor, Ma'am, Dr. Madhu Chitkara as well. I am their huge admirer because the value system flows from the top, and because they are the hardcore academicians, and if everybody believes that Chitkara has been able to make a difference in the academic circles, that is all the kind of positive energy or positive vibes which we do get from their side. So thank you so much, Professor Meenu Khurana, for making the leap in these kind of initiatives and taking the School of Engineering Technology to the next level. And may this growth be keep on happening by leaps and bounds in time to come as well. So may God bless all of us, and it's a wonderful, wonderful initiative. My best wishes to the organizers, and my heartiest wishes for the participants that they must make the maximum of this opportunity given. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor. Over to
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Now, to proceed further, I would like to invite Professor Sanjeev Manhas. Dr. Manhas is a chief investigator E and ICT. Sorry for the glitch. Start over. Professor Manhas is a chief investigator E and ICT Academy, IIT Roorkee, and head of the department Electronics and Communication Engineering. He's a distinguished professor with over 18 plus of experience and teaching experience also. His expertise encompasses advanced semiconductor technologies, including 3D NAND, FE, FET, nanoscale DRAM, pneunomorphic and in-memory computing nanoscale transistors, MEMS, energy harvesting, and CMOS reliability. He has authored more than 100 research papers and holds 6 patents. Dr. Manas earned his PhD in electronics and electrical engineering from De Montfort University, UK in 2003, and his MTech in solid state technology from IIT Madras in 1996. He has held several prominent administrative roles at IIT Roorkee, such as faculty in charge of the TIDS Business Incubator and STEP, a chairmanship of the Departmental Faculty Research and Academic Program Committees. He is a member of the IEEE Electronic Device Society and the IEEE Solid State Circuits Society. Please join me in giving a heartfelt welcome to Dr. Sanjeev Manas. Welcome, you, sir.
Yeah, let me check. So can you hear me? Good afternoon to everybody.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, so thank you very much for the generous introduction. Indeed, it's my great pleasure to be part of this inauguration ceremony of this FDP on AI entrepreneurship and application of AI in innovation. Very warm greetings to Vice Chancellor Dr. Rajneesh Sharma, and also Dr. Meenu Khurana, local coordinator Dr. Abhishek Thakur, and all the participants. It's indeed my great honor to be part of this inaugural ceremony on this very important and relevant topic, on which we are going to have this FDP for next 5 days. And indeed, this is, I think, probably fifth or sixth joint partnership program that we are organizing with Chitkara University, Himachal Pradesh. And this also is somewhat special to me because I am also from Himachal. So anything at Himachal always is also an attachment for me also. And I'm very happy to see that we continue to do these excellent programs, working with really renowned experts and carrying out this activity. And as Dr. Dinesh also mentioned, that this is a precursor to the larger conference that you are doing. It's even it's a it's really then a special event for us also, and I'm really very happy. So what I want to tell you about this program is that we had this initiative. This is a electronics and ICT, a larger initiative which has been funded by MIT. And the whole objective of this initiative is to bring in uh, the knowledge, learning, and upgradation of knowledge to faculty members of all our institutes across India, and with the aim and with the objective that by carrying out such programs, we are benefiting, or we are ultimately spreading out this knowledge and making changes or incorporating right sort of material in the curriculums that is being taught to students. And we do hope that the ultimate beneficiaries of these programs are the students, in the form of the learning and the introductions of the topics, as well as what you call interactions, guidance, mentoring, etc., and ensuring that ultimately it is the students who benefit from these programs. Because the way technology is evolving, you see that every 5 years there is a really new technology that is powering and making a change, not only for industry, but also for the society at a large. And with such a fast change occurring around us, it becomes very relevant. It's become very important that we as what do you call uh, torch bearers, or we as teachers across the country, ensure that we do provide our students with the latest skills, latest exposures that is required industry, in research, as well as society as a whole. And I think that this program is also very relevant for that, because not only we need good ideas and innovations in the form of products, softwares, and IP, but then how can we enhance our competence in this area by use of AI? And I think this particular topic and the subject of this FDP is very unique and is very relevant. And I don't think we have done this type of sort of a topic covered anywhere in any of the other FDPs. So I think it's kudos to all the organizers and all the local coordinators and the administration that we are doing this program. And as Professor Rajneesh mentioned, that we have actually a vast array of very good experts who are really very good in their areas, who are going to speak over this program, and we will have very good sort of hands-on sessions also. And that is something which is very important. And I do feel that once we have this program implemented successfully, something good will come out for all the participants. And we will, broadly speaking, in general, we will continue to do these programs in future also. And if any faculty member and anybody else out there is able to, or is interested in collaborating with AICT Academy IIT Roorkee, you can reach out to Chitkara University, or you can also reach out to us, and we can also plan a program specifically designed to your own sort of needs or your own areas, and work with you in organizing such programs. These programs happen to be fully financially supported, and all we need is a local host support as well as planning and organizations at your end, and the other logistic issues. But the finances and our overall support, if you need, also is provided by AICT Academy IIT Roorkee. So again, let me first of all then thank all the administration and the local coordinators, vice chancellors, pro vice chancellor, all the eminent personalities who are involved with these programs, guest speakers, etc. And I also want to thank the participants for taking time out of their busy schedule. And I'm sure that it is going to be a great learning experience for all of you. And I do also hope, and it is my also appeal to you, that when you go back to your parent institutes, please look into how whatever learning and knowledge, upgradation or exposure or discussion that we have, how our students can benefit. Because really speaking, as I mentioned, our ultimate goal and beneficiary are students. We are doing it for the graduates. We are doing it for the benefit of the students, to make them more competent, to give them better edge over others, for taking out challenges of their careers, for their future, and planning their overall career looking ahead. So thank you very much, and I do wish all the participants a great learning experience ahead. And as it is well known that learning does not end with one small 40 hours or a small program like this. It is a beginning, and I do hope that you will also continue to explore this area going forward in future. And I also look forward to working with you for doing similar such program, uh, either at Chitkara or any other institute. Thank you very much, and over to you.
Thank you, Professor Sanjeev.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your kind words. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Meenu Khurana, Pro Vice Chancellor, Chitkara University, Himachal Pradesh, to deliver the vote of thanks. Dr. Meenu Khurana is an accomplished academic professional with over 28 years of diverse expertise across industry, academia, research, and administration, primarily serving in senior roles within higher education. At Chitkara University, she played a key role in fostering industry academia collaborations, establishing Center of Excellence, and introducing 7 prominent undergraduate specialization tracks, including data science, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, UI, UX, game development, digital marketing, and entrepreneurship. A senior member of IEEE for more than 13 years, Dr. Khurana is also a professional member of ACM, executive member of IEEE SITE, and a life member of ISTE. Her outstanding work has earned her several accolades from both IEEE and industry collaborators. She has actively contributed to various national and international conferences and workshops focusing on areas such as vehicular ad hoc networks, wireless sensors networks, fog computing, machine learning, cybersecurity, curriculum development, and pedagogical innovation. With over 80 research publications and 12 granted patents to her credit, Dr. Khurana continues to influence the academic and technological ecosystem through her expertise and innovative approach. Welcome, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Vibha. The formal vote of thanks is always done in any of the session, and it is important because it reminds us that a lot of effort that has been put by the organizers in organizing the capacity building programs, and reminds us that how we should take the learning back to our institutes, back to our campuses, and how we can contribute to the community, to the society at large. So it is very important to remind us of the efforts, the work done behind the scenes for organizing such events. So thank you, Dr. Vibha, for giving me this big responsibility. So we begin by acknowledging the fruitful partnership with Electronics and ICT Academy, IIT Roorkee, for organizing the FDPs in collaboration with Chitkara universities, and specifically this FDP, which is on the topic of great relevance in current scenario. We express our sincere thanks to Honorable Chancellor Dr. Ashok K. Chitkara, without whose motivation the event would not have been possible. Dr. Chitkara is epitome of knowledge and is currently delivering special sessions for the students and faculty on rudiments of AI, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Grok, and Metaverse. He himself is from mathematics background, and he has a great interest in the field of AI. So he always encourages students, faculty, and staff to indulge into gaining knowledge in these emerging areas and for their lifelong learning. Thank you, sir. Our thanks goes to Honorable Pro-Chancellor, Dr. Madhu Chitkara, who always encourages us to organize such events on niche technologies and adopt these technologies for enhancing the efficiency, thereby going into the real-time applications of these technologies. So thanks to Dr. Ashok K. Chitkara and Dr. Madhu Chitkara for their constant support and encouragement to organize such capacity building programs. We express our sincere thanks to our esteemed Vice Chancellor, Dr. Rajneesh Sharma, for guiding us, mentoring us, providing us all the required support. Thank you, sir, for your visionary inaugural address and for encouraging us all to embrace the innovation and technology within our academic community. Thank you, sir. Our gratitude goes to Professor Sanjeev Manhas, Professor and Principal Investigator of EICT Academy, IIT Roorkee, for his presence and sharing his valuable insights with us on this particular FDP. He has been a great support and been encouraging the team led by Dr. Abhishek for organizing such FDPs. Without his help, we would not be able to reach to the participants, delegates all across India to participate and explore such kind of opportunities. So thank you very much, Professor Sanjeev. So we extend our gratitude to Dr. Abhishek for coordinating this FDP to organize, to reach out to resource persons and to spread this information of the capacity building program to researchers, to academicians, to industry experts, because a lot of effort goes into providing the information of such kind of FDPs that are being organized, and also to reach out to different resource persons on a related topic and taking out their valuable time. So thank you, Dr. Abhishek, for organizing this event. Thanks to Dr. Vibha for this inaugural ceremony, and she has been a good support in giving an initial push to the capacity building programs that we are organizing under EICT. We are privileged to have a distinguished panel of speakers, and we extend the warm welcome and we appreciate in advance to all the experts for their valuable time to conduct these sessions. And we eagerly anticipate their insightful sessions and thank them in advance for taking out their valuable time to share their expertise and their hands-on, their exposure with the participants. We also would like to acknowledge and express the appreciation to the IT department of Chitkara University for their great technical support in ensuring the smooth execution of each session, because these sessions are held, I think apart from 4 to 8 p.m., which is not our regular, working hours. So thanks to IT team for extending the support beyond the working hours. Thanks to the administration team for making all the arrangements for the smooth operations of this FDP. We also thank all the volunteers who are contributing in various capacities for making this FDP a great success. Though they don't come, in front, but they are working behind the scene for providing all the support that is required for the participants, delegates to make the most benefit of this FDP. So we thank all the participants, all the attendees, who have joined from across India for their time and engagement. Your enthusiasm definitely and thoughtful contributions will make this FDP a great success. And I hope that you will have a great learning, and you will have a great platform for future collaboration in research and innovation. So with each such, faculty development program, or I should call it as a capacity building program, let us commit to carry forward, these insights being shared in these sessions, to collectively strive to build smarter, more inclusive and technologically empowered communities and society at large. So thank you once again, and I wish you all a great learning in this FDP and a great networking during these, 10 days time. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We are very delighted to have all the guests over here for the inaugural session. Thank you so much for being here. I would like to now proceed with the session. Kindly grant me the permission to proceed with the session now so that we can proceed further. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Now, dear participants, for the session of the day, the first session of this faculty development program, I hope everyone is very excited to join this session, because the keynote speaker for this session is Dr. Sandeep Singh Sandha.
Yes, I am here.
Kindly, I would like to check if Dr. Sandeep Singh is present. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank
Can
you.
I get
So,
started?
Dr. Sandeep Sandha is a renowned computer scientist with expertise in machine learning, IoT, embedded systems, and data analytics. With a PhD from UCLA and industry experience at Amazon, ARM Research, and IBM, he has contributed significantly to scalable AI solutions and hyperparameter tuning frameworks. A passionate educator, he co founded Simple Mind School to mentor prospective graduate students and authored a guide on crafting impactful graduate admission essays. His research spans reinforcement learning, time series forecasting, and healthcare applications, and his work has earned him multiple accolades, including UCLA's Outstanding Mentorship Award. Sandeep Sir has completed his master's and PhD in computer science from the University of California, Los Angeles, where he was honored as the student commencement speaker. He earned his BTech in computer science from IIT Roorkee. Dr. Singh researched on artificial intelligence, specifically the Mango library, is used in designing commercial CPUs powering billions of devices, including Samsung and iPhone smartphones. Dr. Singh has extensive industry experience, having led AI research at Abacus.ai, Amazon ARM, Teradata, IBM, and Oracle. He currently serves as the coordinator of Punjab AI Excellence, providing practical AI education to over 200 schools in Punjab. He also serves as an advisor at abacus.ai and co founder of ML0.ai. He has authored several books on education, higher education specifically for Indian students. We welcome you, sir. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you for the warm welcome. I hope you can hear me. Let me know if I'm audible. Yeah. Please let me know if you are able to hear me. Okay.
Audible, sir.
Okay. So, and I also hope that you are able to see my screen. Okay. Thank you for the warm welcome and introduction. In this session, I'm going to set the stage for many of the future sessions, which will go deeper into many different aspects of the FDP. So the first session actually is on the topic itself, that building the future with deep learning innovations. And I'm going to touch many different practical aspects of AI, and I will also give enough details that how these things are working, how and what and why behind the scene is happening, where we see the future is going, and also a little bit touch early on AI itself, the evolution of AI, that where do we stand today. Okay. Now this will be more with hands-on. Also, I'll show you some working demos. We'll see how these things are created. You can ask me question anytime through the chat. When I'm sharing the screen, I'm not able to see the chat, so you can also speak up if you have any question, but I'll try to stop in some times, like after a few slides, to take any questions from the chat if they are there. All right. Okay, so give me few more seconds and we'll just get started. Okay. Okay. So, so today I'll little bit give an overview of my research. And in this overview, I'll mostly focus on the research which we are going to discuss next. And I'll try to tie the story of AI driving future innovations. We will look two different angles at a high level. One of them is the Gen AI angle. We'll discuss some LLM notebooks, how they work, how companies are using LLMs, how companies are able to create their use cases like Perplexity and other companies, right? And in the second part, I also discuss the conventional AI, where the goal is that not only the LLMs or Gen AI is used everywhere. Of course, LLM and Gen AI is powering a lot of applications. There is a lot of positive hype around it. At the same time, a lot of startups in this area. But conventional AI has also come a very, very long way. And today with conventional AI, we are able to do so many amazing things. All the revolution which has happened, like in many other fields, like in Gen AI fields, is also powering more or less the conventional AI as well. All right. So in the first example, what you see here is a working AI in agriculture demo. This is a recording from my phone itself. We can we can click a photo of a plant and it will tell us what is the disease. It's a very simple toy example, but it's just showing us that, and this running on the phone itself. We are not making an internet call. Today, we have come a long way where such automated decision making can be done on your phones. It's a very simple toy example, but it shows that what used to be very hard just a few years ago, we need to had a lot of agriculture expert to do this, but AI can do this in our pockets today. One example. Second example is actually, this is the Mango AI, which is designing CPU at ARM. And these are the CPUs which is powering over modern smartphones of Samsung, iPhones, or even Micromax or Lava devices. Basically, Mango is a very, very powerful optimizer, and it can approximate a decision boundary of any complex setting. Here, it's approximating a decision boundary of a machine learning classifier, which is like actually an AI designing CPUs. I'll like to touch these things in more detail a little bit later, but shows you that AI is in agriculture. AI is also designing our CPUs. So AI designing CPU is actually open source on GitHub. There are several papers which I ordered during my PhD days. But this is the AI which is actually powering the ARM chipset. And ARM chipset is actually the one, or ARM designs are actually the one which are used in, say, Samsung or iPhones or many, many other tiny microcontroller class devices even, or even, say, our Redmi, Realme, Micromax or Lava series as well. Not only that it's able to design these complex problems, take any other example such as the AI in tracking. These are also some of my research showing that we can track cars, we can track humans. Indirectly, this used to be a very hard state space estimation problem. We are nearing a future where whatever decision making our brain could have been doing few years ago, we can create a very smart brain outside to do all these things. Okay. Uh, so these are actually many of use cases of AI, like when we can run it everywhere. We can run it on small microcontrollers monitoring, say, wild animals, like what you see here. Many of my research papers do that. Or we can create such tiny AI which can run on pico satellites or energy harvesting cameras which can run forever. There are many research papers like which are actually doing this. Like Locomote paper is creating this smaller AI which we can put on underwater sea animals, and we tested it like across many different animal classes. Similarly, AI which can put in earables like the earphones which we use to listen music, and such tiny AIs are possible. All right. Several of other research which I will touch today is not only this tiny conventional AI, a lot of LLM hype, right? We can create like series of models. Here I'm showing a Dakar series of model which we released, which are better than ChatGPT or many other models in coding tasks. So they're very good coders. Basically, we are very much nearing a stage where software development or software coding will be so much assisted by AI, if not fully replaced. And this is also the reason that so many companies have shifted the trends with instead of just normal software engineers, they're like AI is becoming a day-to-day main task for the software developer to speed up their tasks in defining projects, in defining requirements, and so on. Recent paper again on LLM, which we did with Jan LeCun's group, like and across many different universities. Again, it's asking a very good question. If you have a new use case, which LLM to use? You are trying to develop something for say agriculture, you're trying to develop something for doctors, you're trying to develop something for math teachers. What LLM you can use? Each of them has a very different answer. So this is the paper which is answering that. So today, coming back to today's topic, like this was just an overview of the research, but today's topic we are going to go deep into deep learning innovations. I'll try to create a story and tie down these things together to show where we are today and why. And in the first part, we'll focus on the LLM part and AI for human text. Human text is tremendous form of data all around us, which we create every day. From question answering, from document search, reasoning, document generation, so many use cases and so many startups in each of these areas. Chatbots most likely we use every day, but document search is a very similar, very important, but similar use case for doctors and lawyers. Maybe finding a similar patient or maybe finding a similar case. Or reasoning, very deeper insights to grading students. And again, document generation means not only simple writing, it can even create codes for us and even write legal documents for us. And the second part, I'll touch this closed loop, where we are sensing very complex surrounding. It is all around us every day. It's the same thing which we have talked in the past 10, maybe 10 plus years of IoT, smart cities, and so on. But today it has taken a very new shape where AI, being a decision maker in this loop, can do very complex tasks, from self-driving cars to drones to Alexa or even over phone notifications. And basically many of these tasks can change the environment, and we do this again. So today in these both classes of AI will go very deep, and I'll touch some of the very important aspects. All right. So let's first look at how AI changed over time. Where do we stand today? Over the past like several years, we have made so many fundamental breakthroughs, but at a high level, we can classify these breakthroughs that today we are at the age of intelligence. Now, it's just a small baby being born. That's how I see it. Everybody sees it differently, but we have come through an age of internet, electricity, and fuel. Internet age created so much data over past generation, which like led this age, helped us to connect with everyone, but we created so much data that the age of intelligence now can use that data to empower all the use cases. But how big is this AI change? How electricity changed everything, fuel changed everything, internet changed everything. AI is going to change everything. It's that big of a change. It's changing. It's like changing of era. We are entering a new age. Uh, Without internet today, we cannot imagine our daily routine. Similarly, without AI, we will not be able to imagine our daily routine in next 5 to 10 years. That's kind of the big change we are talking about. All right. But we are actually really talking about beyond human capabilities. So the tasks which used to require many years of expertise, like to create an agriculture expert, to create a doctor, to create a legal writer, it used to take many years. Today, we are at a stage where many of these LLMs actually can be created like a very powerful doctor assistant, a very powerful legal assistant. I'll show you some working examples and how we are able to do that. But the task which used to require years of human experience, we can empower using these AI capabilities. Like task even diagnosing very, very rare diseases. There's so many real use cases of AI in many, many big hospitals. We will also touch one or two today. But basically, all the tasks which used to define human intelligence, which used to take years to master, AI is slowly either assisting us or even reaching a stage where it's going beyond our capabilities. Like fixing software errors, there used to be like it used to be very hard task. Software engineers were paid very, very high salaries just a few years ago, and it required like very high expertise with a lot of years of experience. But today we have like powerful LLMs which actually are assisting us or even can fix many simpler errors on their own. All of this like is leading towards the stage that we are trying to reach beyond human capabilities in many of these tasks. Let us take a very simple cancer detection example, and then I'll build a story around like where we reached today and how. A very simple cancer detection example is we have patient images. We are going to train an AI which can actually predict whether the patient has cancer or not. How we are able to do this today? Let's take this simplified example, and then we'll move on further. Uh, it's also touching two different aspects. One different aspect is that is this practical today? Can we use this today in hospitals? Second question is to become a cancer expert can take many years of experience. Where does AI stand today in this task, right? So this actually is very much practical. Today, AIMS Delhi is actually doing cancer detection in the similar manner. Basically, the breast and ovarian cancer in AIMS Delhi, this is a Nature article, which actually highlights these fundamental advancements that AIMS Delhi trained an AI using 5 lakh images, these radiological and histopathological images from real patients. Now, these patients actually, when we diagnose them, AI is actually regularly assisting these doctors, whether they have breast or ovarian cancer, all right? How we are able to train such AI? So training such AI is actually very much similar to how we train every AI. So most of the future sessions will go much deeper into many of these aspects, but today I want to set a stage and touch down where do we stand today in some of these very complex tasks, right? And how do we accomplish them? As always, like we human learn, we learn using data, we are taught using curriculums, we are taught using books. AI, the process is very much similar to our own learning. We start with well-defined data set, well-curated data set. So we need real patients data to start here. After that, the complexity of AI is selected today. So today we have so many different types of AI. I will little bit discuss further that what do we actually mean by that and where does AI and deep learning and all these things differentiate and where do they stand together. But today we can think of that we have a classification of AI in many different forms. You can select a very simple brain, you can create a very complex brain. For example, an adult human being has 75 to 80 billion neurons. So our complexity of brain is defined by our own neurons. The artificial brains which we create outside our AI is also defined by the parameters of its model space. You can create a very simple decision tree, very simple parameters, like just few parameters. You can create a chat GPT style model, which probably has over trillions of parameters. Training of AI actually means that we have a classification or class of different ways to train AI. So after we select AI, which can be, say, a form of neural network, or it can be any other complex decision-making model altogether. But selection means how hard the problem you're trying to solve versus what kind of data sets you have. We can select a model which is specialized for images because this is a cancer detection problem. We can select a model which is specialized for language, like when we are working on, say, text classification or chat GPT style problems. We can also select images which are specialized for sensory data sets when we are working on a sensory data set kind of problem, you know. So training, again, we have many different classes of algorithms and models and ways to train them. Oftentimes, we often go through data again and again. So here we are just seeing a box in this slide, but in reality, you can train a model through many different paradigms and loss functions and optimization settings. After all these things happen, before we put AI in the field, we need to test it. So it can actually tell you whether there's actually a benign cancer or a malignant cancer, what kind of tumor a patient has, you know. All these steps of data, selection of AI, training AI, testing AI are actually done for almost all kind of problems, whichever problem we pick. This is just a toy example to set the setting. In real companies, there is a data team, a separate data team, a separate AI infra team, a separate training team, and testing team is separate. So in real companies, each of these block is actually a very big team. Oftentimes in simpler setting, in simpler cases, when we are testing, a data scientist may do all the tasks, but in reality, in big companies, each of these are handled by a different team altogether. I actually will show you a working demo of this, which just takes like 5 minutes. And let me also put the link in the chat if anyone in the audience actually wants to follow along. Okay. So this is a very simple toy cancer detection problem. Later on, I'll make a real problem which will work on our phones, like I was showing you the plant detection, but we'll solve some real cases before we can transfer it to the real world. In this one, this is a toy problem just to set the stage, and then we'll continue further. All right. So from the audience, if anyone wants to open the notebook, they can also open and play along. Give me a few seconds to just open the notebook. I need to download the Kaggle dataset for this one. So give me a few seconds to actually upload some configuration files. And since this is like a 2-hour lecture, so my plan is we'll talk about around 45-50 minutes, and then we'll have a short break for all of you to like rejuvenate, and then we'll continue further for the next part of the session. And I think suspect that this is a mixed audience. We probably have professors who are expert in different areas. Some are probably expert in AI as well. So targeting the mixed audience, I've created probably mixed slides. So some of the things go much deeper, some of the things touch simpler things, just to set the stage that where do we stand today and in what way we are trying to move forward. All right. So let me share the screen. So if you open the notebook, this is probably how you see it. It's a Colab notebook, so we are running it on a T4 GPU. T4 GPU is a free resource which anyone can use. There are certain limitations on the amount of hours, but for the purpose of this lecture, those are sufficient. And I'm going to actually download Kaggle datasets. So I've added my Kaggle key here. Okay. So dataset downloading will be much faster. But the first step of AI which stands is we need the dataset from the real patients, like for such cancer detection tasks. Now, all the future sessions will actually set the stage with deeper talks of each individual part. But in the first session, we are actually going to create some simpler AIs, and then I'll discuss some challenges and also create some realistic AI which can work on some realistic scenarios. Okay. It's a quite big data set, so it takes some time to download. There's several, like 2 lakh plus images, similar to the size which AIM still used to train their data and models. And let me actually run some of these are how the images look like. So these are real breast cancer data sets from real patients. So these are like the sample tissues which I collected from the patients. Malignant means there's a cancer in the patient. Benign means there's a not cancer in the patient. Using these kind of like data set, we are going to train a decision-making model. Now, in the past, the models have evolved over many different stages. We'll take a look at that in a few seconds. But this model is directly going to make decisions using the past data. All right. So most of the data set has already been downloaded, what you see here. You can also run these runtime run all, like if anybody is running it with me. All right. In this data, there are roughly 2 lakh images, and I'm going to use like around several other images for test purposes. Okay. Like any AI model, none of the models, even ChatGPT or text models, they cannot understand images or text. We have to translate it to numbers. So these are the numbers which actually are defining the image here. All right. And for people who are probably vision experts, they already know all this. So let me wait for a few more seconds for me to move further, for us to just complete the download. Still happening. Meanwhile, from the audience, if there are any questions, please write it in the chat, and I'll take a look in few seconds after we run this notebook. All right, so dataset is downloaded. Next, let us move forward. All right. And let me just start the training of the model. Now, the model which we are going to train here, like we're going to select an AI. So we are going to select a neural network. We completed the first step of data. Now, neural network definitions and all those complexities I'm like ignoring in this lecture. But basically, you have a choice of how complex neural network you want. So in this one, I'm going to create a very simple convolution neural network. The way convolution neural networks work is it's a specialized image network. Convolutions are doing operations which are very much similar to how human eyes also work. We have very specialized neurons which are picking certain kind of shapes and colors. The convolution filters which we finally learn are also very specialized neurons. Each filter is doing a different task. So it's a very, very nice like research papers on explanations of many of these AI. So many of these AIs which we create today are very much motivated by how like nature has gifted us with many of these capabilities. Training is much easier. So today these trainings can be done in like less than 10 minutes. Like we are still running this notebook, but training is much easier. So what is the hard task? I'll talk a little bit later. That so if this is also easy, where is the hard part in creating AI, right? So we'll discuss that also in next few examples. But today these Kaggle notebooks, these like blogs are so much out there that you can actually almost create AI for many of your problems much easier. The hard part we'll discuss, but one of the most important hard part is the data itself. So we need like these real cancer patients data sets. To generalize it to our own scenario, we need the data set for our own scenario, which is the hardest part of most of the AI models. And it often takes 50, 60, 70% of the time to collect data, to curate data, to filter the data. So rest of the time is just 30%, which actually includes all the AI development, testing and everything. So most of the time goes into actually the data part. So model training is much faster. We can create an AI which is like 80, 85% accurate, much easier. Once it's created, let's move further. We can kind of test the model, like the testing of the AI. We can see how it does on the real examples and so on. So much easier, much simpler today. All right. So let me just disconnect and delete, and let's continue further the lecture. Okay. Let me actually again share the slides. Give me a few seconds. All right. So a simple demo in action was just showing all these 4 steps of data, selection of AI, training AI, and testing AI. All right. But the next big question is how does it work? What is happening internally and what we are doing? So for human experts, we actually have like a lot of expert knowledge through our learning. It took us many years to master our subjects through real experiments, practicals, and whatnot. And we are able to make predictions. Through AI, we are again using the data, the real world data. This data is very much similar to, I see it in a way that we took a real world data to learn ourselves through books, through teachers, through lectures, and so on, and through practicals. AI actually is also using a similar style of data. It's learning hidden knowledge and then using this hidden knowledge to make predictions. Now, this hidden knowledge may not be similar how our knowledge and mapping is happening. Of course, this hidden knowledge is a very like complex mathematical function, but we can very easily make an analogy between both of these, as we are using this hidden knowledge to make predictions. Further, like the simpler example which we are discussing, again, we were using this data, we are trying to learn the decision boundary, that how these both images differentiate from each other, and we are trying to make a prediction. The real world is much more complex. We actually have to take care of when we are making mistakes, how we are making mistakes. Like in this kind of mistake, when we are doing a cancer detection problem, the mistakes are very costly. So a lot of research, a lot of expertise goes into analyzing mistakes and then trying to avoid them. And then it's a human assisted setting where, in fact, AI is predicting cancer node, but there is still human supervision involved to make sure that we are not making mistakes. But since AI is the first decision maker, it very much simplifies our tasks when we are trying to handle hundreds of thousands of patients, right? Another thing we have to understand here is that the AI is as smart as its data here. For it to work on the real patients, you actually need very much real data sets from the real patients. So that's why we needed 2 lakh, 5 lakh images, kind of population scale data with heterogeneity. All right. But we are here today. We are trying to make decisions from data. We didn't came here like in the first stage. Very early on, we always had expert human rules, like the AI of 60s or 70s. I'll also give few other examples later on. But we always had expert human rules, like for example, for a bank loan approval system. A very simple expert human rule can be based on our credit score. Like credit score is very much used in US, or CIBIL score in Indian context. Given the credit score or CIBIL score, very simple expert human rule can tell us whether we want to give this person loan or not, right? We reached a state in 90s, 80s where we started learning these rules from data. Like we can create these very powerful decision trees, the training algorithms that can create these rules. And this is actually a pixel rule on each of the pixel. This is an image classification problem, and we can create decision trees for image classification also. Over time, we learned that rules are not always the best way to go ahead. We can actually directly learn decision from data, and that's where neural networks come into picture. Instead of learning these rules, rules limit us that whatever we cannot define using simpler rules or simpler like if else, we cannot handle those cases with these rules. And that's why decision making rules often are created for simpler settings or corner cases which are very well understood. But for the cases which are more complex, we often try to learn directly decisions. These decision boundaries are also understood with a lot of explanations and scenarios around this research. But still, we are not learning rules here, we are directly learning decisions. So we are actually in the third stage of AI, we are directly trying to learn decision like an expert human. All right. Further, okay, so let me see if there are any questions in the chat before I move forward. Give me a thumbs up if like you're understanding until here. Like we are talking about evolution of AI, and we'll run a simple example. I just want to see if audience is able to follow along with me. All right. If you have any questions, please write it in the chat. I don't know if you can unmute yourself, but you can write it in the chat if there are any questions. How many of you were running the notebook with me? Give me a thumbs up if you are running the notebook, which was just a simple cancer detection. We'll run a few more complex notebooks later on. All right. I see. Yeah, you can write it in the chat probably if you were running the notebook. All right. Yeah, we have to classify data into 0 and 1. Yes. Okay. All right. So let's continue further. So after the simple example, actually, let's talk about how real AI is used in industry. All right. So where do we stand today when we want to test the real AI in industry? I think there's a lot of background noise. So I just muted. I think there's a lot of background noise. So let's continue further. Okay. So in reality, many of these like different paradigms of AI or different ways to solve problem are actually working together. So often when we are working on a real problem, we start with the data. But instead of just creating a very complex AI, we often have expert human rules working first at a first stage. In most of the real cases, because expert human rules are very easy for many of the corner cases to generalize. For example, in a banking loan setting, if the person has no bank history, then the expert human rule may be that not approve or disapprove, just let a human make a decision here rather than AI. So with no data, like or very less data, expert human rule can kick in. So in real scenario, we start with data, we have to make a decision. Oftentimes, first expert human rules kick in. Then we have very simpler AIs handling most of the real cases. Simple decisions are being made by decision classifier or conventional AIs. And then there are cases where complex neural networks are used. So all of these are working together in a real AI system. You can see that there is not like one solution which works for every case. Every solution has its pros and cons. Complex neural networks, of course, are better in terms of decision making power, but then they have cons in the terms of that they require more complex machines to work. And when you are handling real queries from so many like patients or so many like real users, often simple rules are preferred. They save us money and they often can handle many corner cases. And then simpler classifiers are preferred, which can handle the other cases. And whatever we cannot handle with simpler settings, we often use a more complex neural network. This is one setting which I'm showing you. Reality is more complex. Like here in this slide, I'm showing you 5 different ways of neurosymbolic AI. Neurosymbolic AI in the sense that AI is there and neurosymbolic part is actually the human expert rules. Like the first setting was what I was showing you earlier, that we start with data, we have human, the symbolic logic, and then neural networks. In reality, you can have data, neural networks, and then symbolic logic, or you can have both of them working together and combining their outputs. Or we can have neural network layers with symbolic logic. So all of these things are possible today. They all solve like different aspects of the problem. Some are used in certain scenario versus other. More details are in one of our recent research paper. But in reality, you can see that today we are at a stage where human knowledge and AI are working together hand in hand to solve very of the complex problems. We use this symbolic or this logical representation or our knowledge representation or rules, because oftentimes these rules are very hard to learn from data, and we might need a lot of data to learn from it. And whenever in the problems, real problems, data is most of the time always like less in amount. When the data is less, we often put in a human expert rules to solve that missingness part. All right. So this kind of sets the stage for the first part of the talk, where AI evolution, human rules, a simpler AI example of training, where we looked at the data, selection of AI, training AI, and testing AI. Now let us dive deeper into a real use case of AI for human text. Where do these LLMs stand today? How do they work? And what actually the future directions we are moving in this, right? A lot of future innovations, a lot of startups, a lot of money is thrown into these problems. And definitely these problems are becoming to be a $1 trillion economy in the next few years. So a lot of jobs are being created, a lot of research is happening. So let us touch at a high level where we are here, and how these things work actually internally. All right. A very simple example of a doc draft website, where actually these LLMs can help us say write say wills and trust. So basically these LLMs are behaving like an expert lawyer, and they can create rental agreements, living will, and whatnot. Basically anyone can go and create these documents, almost like an expert lawyer level of accuracy. Or graders. AI-based student graders are a reality today. Many of the universities are still in early stages, but I envision that in next 5 to 10 years, these graders will be very much helping almost the teachers and students around them. You give it an essay, it will grade it, it will give us a feedback, and also tell us how much AI is used and whatnot. All right. But all of these are powered under the hood by LLM technology. So where do we stand in this evolution of text technology, right? Like the AI revolution or AI evolution, this evolution of text has also followed a very similar pattern. We used to have rule-based systems in 1950s until 80s, and today modern systems are created using BERT, GPT, T5, these backbones. A lot of evolution happened over time, but the AI is trying to solve the similar problem. So the rule-based system evolved into statistical NLP, TF, IDF. Many people might have heard these terms. RN and LSTMs we still use today, but they have recently been faded away by transformer revolution. It doesn't mean that LSTM RNNs are not used today. Like I was showing you examples that many of these AIs work in a system with each other, but more complex problems actually, or more complex use cases are actually built on the more recent transformer revolutions, and then later on all this comes into picture. In 1950s, we also created the first chatbot, Eliza. Like if you read it online on Wikipedia, it started in 1964. It's a chatbot. People could actually even create emotional connections with this chatbot. It could work as a psychotherapist or physiotherapist. It could work like a friend or whatnot. It could answer these questions very well. It's a rule based AI. Even today, after so many years, we are still trying to create chatbots only, like the BERT, GPT-1, T5, and all these present large language models are a very complex form of this early rule-based system. But you can think at a functionality level, they are trying to mimic the same ELIZA, but in a much more like a way which is more closer to. It's very becoming hard to distinguish which is human written versus which is AI written. All right. So most important question which I'm going to answer is large language model versus human experts. Where do we stand today? If we try to look at it, how to define their comparison, how to compare LLM versus an AI expert, where it's like a computer science experts, a lawyer experts, and AI experts. Where do we stand? Like before I answer this question, just from the audience. So how many of you actually use ChatGPT in day-to-day life? Just give me a thumbs up if you use ChatGPT in day-to-day life. Wow. From the audience. Okay, few of you have raised your hands. Okay, sounds good. All right. So let's move forward. Give me 30 seconds. I have to just answer. Somebody's on my door. Okay, let's continue forward into the talk. So I think since we all use this Gen AI in everyday life, I think the one of the very important question is if we compare these modern LLMs versus humans, where do the accuracy of both of them stands in terms of like say in many different use cases, right? So I'll show one way we compare them, and then I'll also show what is the problem with these ways and how we fix them a little bit later, all right? So one of the way we compare them is using benchmarks. And very widely used benchmark is MMLU benchmark. And this benchmark has 14,000 multiple choice question across 50,000 different subject areas. These subject areas are like how we also test our own knowledge. For example, physics or mathematics subject areas, how our IIT JEE test or NEET exams are designed to test the knowledge of our students before they enter into their own particular streams, right? Or even universities or college exams are conducted. We made this multiple choice because multiple choice is very easy to test it. If say LLM is answering question in a verbose manner, it becomes hard to say which verbose is better. We need probably very active human involvement. But in multiple choice, it can output one of the four choices. You can give it a complex scenario. And then we can compare how good or bad the models are. So a physics level question, a mathematics level question, there are many such questions. In reality, there are humanities, social science, STEM, and all of these, even lawyers, like all those LLM questions and so on are asked to them, you know. A random baseline, when we select randomly, it's a 25% accurate, 1 out of 4 choice. In reality, these models stand on a spectrum. Like the GPT-3 large variant, which was released by OpenAI like 2019, 2020, that time frame, was around 40% accurate, roughly. So it was not a very good model, you can say. And GPT-2 and all are just 32% accurate. So this is a very hard task in a way. You can compare humanities experts, social science experts, they're definitely going to be better. So human experts roughly stand at 89% accuracy. All right. So it means that if you have a humanities PhD, they will be roughly 89, 90% accurate. Social science PhD, they will be around 89. So they were better than GPT-3. So where do the modern model stands, right? So this is where the modern model stands. GPT-4 around 88%, Llama 3.14405 billion parameter model, one of the largest Llama series of model was 88%. DeepSeek V3, DeepSeek R1 was 90%. OpenAI O1 is 91.8%. So it shows that these models very soon reached human expert level intelligence on these kind of benchmarks. Now, this doesn't mean that these models are beating us in every way, but it does mean that these models can be used to answer these complex questions and we can rate them and they actually compare similar to how an expert human will do, sometimes even slightly better than us. This is where like all the hype of AI comes into picture. That's why so much companies are moving towards these LLMs and they don't no more probably need an expert CS PhD or expert lawyer or expert doctor to handle everything, because these models are slowly able to handle all the tasks for which we have data sets in the past. If we have a training data set, books to learn how a doctor does, how a lawyer does, these models can actually beat us there. All right. So how do they work? Let us enter into this part of the talk. And how companies use them, I'll answer that's a little bit later, that how Perplexity or Grammarly or even any other startups are using them. How we develop them, I'll also answer that. All right. But LLMs like the neural network earlier we looked at, we started with data, training AI, selecting AI, that's how we develop it. This is how we are using them, like the usage part and the training part I'll little bit discuss later. The user part is again, we start with the data, the text. LLM cannot understand text, so we have to convert into numbers or tokens, all right? When we convert text into tokens, these serves many different purposes. I'll little bit answer a little bit later in the slides that what purposes it serves. But converting text into number, one of the ways through tokens. Finally, we need a very powerful neural network which can, given the past text or tokens, can predict the next token. So these, all the LLMs, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, DeepSeek, they are just next token predictors. Given the past words, we predict the next tokens, and then we map it to the word space. These three steps are actually the core base steps of any LLM technology. And with just these three, we actually have done all the revolution which we see around us, all right? For example, if you give this input, the AI class by IIT Roorkee is a bit, we will map into tokens like AI class. These tokens will be finally converted into numbers. But IIT will be broken down to two tokens. and Roorkee actually is broken down to even more tokens, and each a bit is kept at ease. But if I write AI class by my college, it just kept at ease. It's actually basically these words are how much they occur in the training data, the training literature, and based on that, this tokenization is done. College occurs so many times, but Roorkee occurs, it's the name of a place, very few times. So this tokenization is done by an algorithm. All right. Based on this tokenization, we finally are able to give smaller units, numbers as input. And why we are all doing this? Because neural networks actually cannot understand words. All right. Starting like, so tokens can be words, sub words, or characters, or even numbers. After we do this, then we are going to predict the next token. So let me just give this demo to explain this in detail through code, and we can also continue further. So this is a demo of LLM. Later on, I'll also show you working demos of more complexities. Let's start building a simpler one, and then we'll go more deeper. All right. Audience can also run it with me if like you have access to laptop. All right. Okay. So let me run step by step. Here we are going to load GPT-2 model to show the process of tokenization next word prediction. All right. GPT-2 is open source. GPT-3, GPT-4, these models are not open source available. But tokenization process has evolved over time. I'll show you that. But under the hood, the basics have always stayed the same. So the first, the AI class by IIT Roorkee is a bit. These are actually how the numbers mapping is done. The da is always mapped to this number, you know. And finally, if you revert back, like you will see that these are the tokenized broken down. These are the numbers which we are giving as input to the model, and we are asking it to predict the next word or next number. And since this is GPT-2 model is quite big, it takes some time to download the pre-trained model. So let's do the tokenization process soon, and this is what we're trying to do. You give all the past context as input. Another sentence, the AI class by my college is a bit. And since my and college occur so many times in the training data, they kind of are classified or into one single token. All right. Finally, we are going to predict the next token in this LLM. The next token prediction actually is over a very, very large probability space, 50,000 probability space of GPT-2. This is the vocabulary. It can predict 50,000 different words. I'm going to take the best, top 5 best words, and this is actually what it means. The AI class by my college is a bit different. Its highest probability. AI class by my college is a bit off. The AI class by my college is a bit more, like where all of these are actually correct words. In reality, when we are using like a LLM, it will most of the time pick the most highest probable word. So the AI class by my college is a bit different. All right. We can use another example. I saw cat on a. Okay, this is the input. We'll tokenize it, and finally we are going to predict the next word. Like this is where the model is predicting the next word. And finally, if we run this, I saw cat on a leash. I saw cat on a street. I saw cat on a beach. Different probabilities, but all of these actually correct. This is actually what most of the LLMs are doing. They're able to predict the next word. Now, to use them meaningfully, next word is not the answer. All right. We'll need to produce paragraphs. We need these LLMs to write like respond to our questions. And then we need these LLMs to write codes for us to correct our mistakes, grammar mistakes like we use in the real world. So what happens there? Let's look at that next. But it starts with just the next token predictor. All right. Let's go a little bit next into how it's able to do all those complex tasks. All right. So give me just a few seconds to again share the slides. Okay. Okay. So finally, in the end of the day, given the past inputs, we are able to predict the probability of the next most important word or most probable word as output. When we use ChatGPT every time again and again, it can actually pick different words, probable words. So that's why we see different like writing style. But in reality, like you can have a stochastic approach, selection of any one of these top three, or you can have a more deterministic approach, always selecting the best one. All right. And then we map these words back to the word space, like the tokens which are predicted. And that's what like this, it predicts a number, we map it back to the word space. Before we like give a short break in like 4 minutes, I'll stop for like 10 minutes break so we all can rejuvenate. All right. Let's discuss how we generate the paragraphs. So this is a demo of paragraph generation. In paragraph generation, we do this process again and again. You predict the word, you give that word as input, and it predicts the next word. So you can predict 100 words into the future by giving the previous 99 predictions again and again. All right. Or you can predict 1,000 words as input. So it's a sequential process. This is why these LLMs take a lot of time to write when you ask it to write, say, 3 paragraphs or long text. It is very fast when you ask short answer. Because it's a sequential process, it is done like again and again and again. All right. So let me open the next demo and we'll run this. And then we'll have a short break of 10 minutes and we'll again start at 5. All right. So again, we'll start with the GPT-2 model. And this time we are going to generate 100 different outputs into the future. The tokenization algorithm which we use here is called byte pair encoding algorithm. This is a different algorithm which is trained on the training data itself. We often use probably subset of the data most of the time because the training takes, tokenizer training takes a lot of time. But tokenizer training actually split words into subwords to reduce the vocabulary size. In reality, English vocabulary is much, much bigger. 50,000 size is enough because we pick the most common words and then the other words are splitted into like, or we split them into smaller sizes. Okay. And finally, like this vocabulary size, let us see here has roughly 50,000 vocabulary size, and special token is added in that like end of text token. In the other LLMs, we'll add many different special tokens, but in GPT-2, there is only one special token generated, like when it has to stop the generation. All right. For example, exploring the GPT-2 model as input, we have like create exploring has is added as like 2 different tokens. Da is 1 token, of course. GPT-2 is again created different tokens like you see here. So even when these are broken down, these models are smart enough to make sense and able to write coherently. All right. GPT models like have many different variations, a large model, a medium model. Similarly, in many different LLM space, Grok or Llama or even like Gemini or GPT, like the one which we use commercially, they have many different variations of the sizes. This is GPT Mini as well, which is often free, available to all of us. All right. So the largest model like in the GPT-2 space is roughly like this 3.25 GB size. Now this model has 774 million parameters, quite a big model. Still not billion, but 774 million. It's a few years old. When we have to write again and again, you give the previous inputs and we ask it to do generation again and again and again. All right. So for example, artificial intelligence lectures are, and I'm telling it to write say 100 into the future, like this input, or 50 into the future. You can define how much words you want into the future. It will take some time because it's generating them again and again and again, round and round circle. So artificial intelligence lectures are a great way to learn about latest development in AI. The course is designed for people who want introduction into AI, AGI, and not intended. So what it's generating is, this was how it understood next word should appear. And this is because it learned it through its training data, through the internet scale data. All right. It can do amazing things. It can write like a very smart human. The future of AI will be a big deal. And I think the biggest thing is going to happen is we are not just talking about robots and computers. CEO, it's actually like a very realistic human writing. It can follow grammar. It can follow punctuation. It can make meaningful sentences. GPT-2 and earlier models could not answer human questions. We'll come to that in a few seconds. So this was trained using 40 GB of text data, which is roughly web pages, books, articles. So a few years ago, 40 GB data was very big. Today, it's not like today it's like a drop in the bucket. But a few years ago, it was very big. Today, models are trained with internet scale data. Trillions of tokens are used to train them. But the GPT-2 model could not do many things, which GPT-3 and later models, instruction tool models could do. If you tell it to explain AI to a 6-year-old kid, or you tell it to write a few lines on happiness, If we are asking it to follow certain instructions, these models cannot follow our instructions. They are not aligned or tuned to follow our instructions. If I tell it, for example, explain AI to a 6-year-old kid, and let's like wait for the response, it will make coherence output. It will not be able to answer our question very well, basically. Why it's not able to answer? Because in a way it has learned through internet scale input data, but it has not learned to follow our instructions. So for that we need instruction tuning or alignment to be done. Explain AI to a 6-year-old kid, and you will notice that AI doesn't understand. So basically, it's writing things how it learned from the data or the internet scale data. It's not answering our question very well. This was the problem which GPT or Chat GPT solved, and then like all the hype came, and we started using it because now it could follow instructions. It can write over essays. It can grade exams. It can behave like an expert diagnostic doctor. It can behave like a lawyer. This instruction following or instruction tuning was the most important step which we did in 2019, and we created ChatGPT. I will show you how it is done and how it works a little bit later after our like break. But this is something which we had to do to make GPT into ChatGPT. All right. So let me stop the share. We'll continue from here how this problem was solved and how companies are using these models today. Okay. Let's take a short 10-minute break. We'll start at around 5 or 2. Okay, so I'll be back again and we'll start the lecture in 10 minutes. All right. It's fine with the organizer to have a short break. Okay, so let's take a short break. Let's start at in 10 minutes. Okay. Okay, we'll get started now again and continue. I hope the audience is back. Just give me a thumbs up if you're able to hear me and you're back from the break. Is it fine to get started? Okay, sounds good. So in the previous actually slide, uh, we were actually let me go back a bit. Yeah, so we were here. We were looking at the end-to-end generation of GPT-2 model, and we could create sentences. But like there were some problems that it could not follow the human instructions. Like so, these models which we are discussing at a high level today, these models are actually the autoregressive models. So they predict the next word in a sequence given the previous word uh, or previous words. So these model generates text sequentially, one token at a time. So they predict the next word, and it depends only on the prior tokens, the previous tokens, and not on the future tokens. So we don't give the model the future. And they are trained like any other AI, which is maximizing likelihood. So the training process is not that hard. We are predicting the next token in a sequence. And GPT-2, GPT-3, GPT-4 models, all the Gemini Cloud are actually these series of models which I was discussing, because these series of models are very much widely used and audience can easily connect with it. There are other series of models which are called auto-encoding models, like BERT, Robota. These models are using bi-directional context, means they use previous tokens and the future token. So they use both of them. And these models also have many different use cases, like they can predict missing words in a sentence and so on. But these models are not used for chatbots and all, like that we don't have access to the future. And then actually there exist like cases where we can combine both of these, like mixing many things together as well. I was discussing the first part today that we were predicting the next word. The network doesn't look complex, like it may look there are a lot of things happening, but like I saw cat on a is converted into this tokenized input embedding space. We're predicting the future vocabulary size probabilities, and then this probability prediction is actually where we are mapping different words probability outputs. And this V size is actually the vocabulary size, like 50,000 vocabulary size we saw for chat GPT-2, like GPT-2 model. And we can predict like I saw cat on a leash, street, all of these things are predicted, with a particular probability. So the neural network which is predicting the next word is actually the brain, like this one, the core brain. And we use this again and again to predict right paragraphs and so on. The problem is these models, GPT-2 was not text aligned. This model responses could not follow human preferences. This is where Llama 3 and all of the next generation came. GPT-3 vanilla model also could not follow instructions. So they are predicting next tokens. Their pre-training is done. Post-training or alignment needs to be done for the new models to work for human instructions. We didn't used to do this step a few years ago, but today we understood that we need this step for it to follow instructions. Post-training or alignment is done using either SFT, supervised fine-tuning, or DPO. SFT, DPO, these fine-tuning approaches are very much used by many startups and companies, like for their own use cases. We'll see what is the secret sauce behind. But these are the steps which allows the model to follow human instructions, basically. And then many models have multimodal support. Earlier variants didn't have it. Llama 3 and many of the newer models actually can support vision, speech, text, and so on. So let me show you the Llama 3 model, which can actually follow the instructions, which is aligned. This model have many different kind of parameter spaces, 8 billion parameter model, 70 billion, 405 billion. Many of the companies do use these different variants depending on the resources and so on. And they can handle like previous words or context length, the previous tokens which you give as input, like more than 1 lakh tokens, 128, like 1,28,000. So tokenizer algorithm is very much similar to what we were discussing, the byte pair encoding algorithm. Yeah. So let me actually run this notebook to show that what is the meaning of alignment, that now these models can actually follow and do a lot of amazing things. Okay. So this is the Llama model. Llama is from Facebook. And let me also open the notebook. And some of the things which we'll discuss next are actually the state of the art in this Gen AI space. So this state of the art means that this is what we know and this is what the state of the art stands. And this is how most of the startups are able to use them for many, many powerful use cases. All right. If you're not able to open this, like, let me know. This notebook, I think, should be available on the public for all of you to like run. In the next few slides, I will also share more details that how you can learn more if you're interested on any of these topics. This like 2-hour lecture is more like a gist, a window into many of these things. But if you want to master some of these aspects, I will share more details. All right. So let's get started. Let me share the screen. If you're using your laptop, you can also run this parallelly with me. And now this is more powerful and big model. It's going to take some time to run. So we'll run the first notebook for sure to show you what happens. It's going to load. We need to install certain libraries for us to work further. And we are going to load a 8 billion parameter model. All right. And this is instruct means it's aligned to follow human instructions. How the alignment is done, I'll little bit discuss later. But if we have a aligned model, and if we ask it like those hard questions, it can actually answer those hard questions. So this model can serve as a chatbot, and it can also serve as any of the use cases which like a startup or a big company actually uses these models for. For you to work this model later on, you will need an access token, which is free from Hugging Face. Currently, I've added my token here. I will disable my token like in 1 or 2 days. So you will need to create your Hugging Face account and add your tokens here, which you can like easily access like the process I've added here. Installation of libraries will take like 1 to 2 minutes. So let's wait for it to work. And then we'll move forward. One thing to note here is that these models are so big, like even on the cloud and very powerful internet, it takes time. So that's one of the things that these models are very resource hungry. A lot of research around simplifying the model, quantization, making them less resourceful, simplifying their sizes so we can run on the mobile. So a lot of this research is happening today in almost each and every country. So yeah, let's wait for a few more seconds for these libraries to install. Oftentimes, many updates happen. So every few months, these libraries are updated. So it's better to like get the latest versions. Okay, let's continue. And so this model is quite big. So loading will probably take again 1 to 2 minutes. I will keep the loading happening parallelly, and we'll discuss further next. Okay. One way to give you access to these notebooks is actually that you can build your own research further or using these pieces of codes. You have the model in notebook, you can query it, you can get it to answer your questions. This open a window for you to fine tune this model for your agriculture use cases, for your grading use cases, even for Indian languages. So basically it opens the first step that having access to working notebooks can now power a lot of your own research. Loading will take some time. As you see, it's kind of quite a big model which we are downloading in many different parts. Process is similar. We will tokenize, like we need a tokenizer, we'll tokenize the input. All right. And we get the output in the sense that previous tokens are given as input and we generate the next output. For example, if we tell you to explain AI to a 6-year-old kid, this question GPT-2 could not answer. It could write something for us, but it could not answer. In this model, we'll again get output also the like future tokens. Like I'm telling you to output say 100 tokens into the future. So these 100 numbers it will create for us. We'll decode these numbers back, and this is how it will look like. Like artificial intelligence 6-year-old AI is like having a super smart robot friend that can help us with a lot of things. Imagine you have a toy box full of different toys and you want to find the red ball. You could look through them, all the toys one by one, but it will take a long time. That's where AI comes in. It's trying to explain to a very small boy using toy example. It's quite a good model, basically. Let's go above. So loading probably will take 1 more minute, more or less. Let's wait for 1 more minute. Another thing here about these models is now these models can take context. So the chat template exists in all of these models in ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. So you can tell it what this model goal is. You can define a system context. So you can say that you are a helpful teacher who is helping students learn, or explain. And then once you tell that you are a teacher, then you can tell it explain AI to a 6-year-old kid. Now this model will do amazing things, like it will start answering like a teacher, that AI is a virtual assistant, game playing robot, self-driving cars, and it's going to kind of talk at a boy's level of knowledge. All right. So let's wait for some more time for the model to load. And then we'll run the first example. The next few examples, I'll show you the notebooks, and we'll probably not run them today. I'll just show you that this is how the output is coming out, and you can run it in your like free time uh, once later on. Entire things are running on a T4 GPU, so it's quite reasonable RAM resources and GPU RAM for us, for our machine, to like load these models. Let's wait for 10-15 more seconds. After we download, we need to load the model into RAM, GPU RAM. So it does take some time to do that. All right. So it's finished. Okay. We download the tokenizer, we define the output function, and let's actually run the good sentence here. Okay. Okay. So first sentence, let's run it. You're a helpful teacher and explain AI to a 6-year-old kid. Now it has to output 500 tokens into the future. It's like it's writing a big paragraph. So like ChatGPT, when it writes a big paragraph, it takes time. It writes word by word, and that's streamed back to us. Here also, it will take some time to write it. So let's give it 20-30 more seconds to write the first answer. All right. These Llama scale of models are very powerful, almost as good as GPT style models. So it has written the answer for us. You're a helpful teacher, and these are different special tokens which are added. We'll discuss them a little bit later, but these special tokens are actually like a way to define that this is the header of the model. What is the context, and then this is what we want the model to answer. This is the like user assistant like question to it, and then it start answering. Okay, so you know how we can teach computers to do a lot of things like play games, show pictures, videos, and even talk to us. Well, AI is like a special kind of computer magic that helps the computer think and make decision on its own. Now remember, this is actually explanation for a 6-year-old kid, so it's kind of doing amazingly good. You can tell it like many things. You are a plant pathologist, explain what is disease, wilt. So you basically you can use it like a chat GPT. So this notebook is like a chat GPT but for free. Let's wait for a few more seconds for the next output to come, and then we'll move on to the lecture further. Okay, so it actually wilt is yellowing, browning leaves, and all those things. So I actually did check it with the plant expert, so this is actually right explanation. I have used this notebook for several other tasks as well. So let's continue further. Okay, so very simple use cases which we started with. So purpose of token here is actually that we are converting words into numbers, and that numbers actually are tokens. They are named as tokens. And so you oftentimes do subwords, one word into multiple like sub tokens. So it's serving a purpose of number conversion. It's serving a purpose of limiting the vocabulary and so on. And then like any AI. Okay, yeah, so let me give the link again for this notebook. Okay. Okay, so you can find the link here. And this notebook link, I already have my Hugging Face token is a different one. So Hugging Face token is already added in this notebook. You can run this notebook end to end. Okay. I will share the link of the cancer detection notebook also a little bit later. Okay. So give me just a few seconds. Basically, I'll share in the end a playlist on the YouTube, which is open playlist, and it has links to all of these things. So you can run them, and these notebooks are very well explained. Okay. So all of these things are, all the slides which I'm discussing with you is actually available open source, so you can follow along. Let's continue further. So Llama 3 style of models are actually as powerful like as any other nice GPT which you see around you. But DeepSeek is like recent style, a reasoning model. It's as powerful as like O1 Mini. Here I'm showing you many different benchmarks, numbers. Like O1 Mini and DeepSeek are almost similar on these benchmarks. Now this reasoning style model can do many powerful things. Okay, so let me share this DeepSeek notebook with you. And I actually want to show you some nice things that what we can use this for. Okay. And then we'll little bit discuss the fine tuning apart and how companies are using it and creating their own beautiful use cases. Okay. So let's run this notebook parallelly. It's going to take a few minutes to run. So I will just run it parallelly, but I'll show you the output. Okay. And we'll again come back to this notebook in 1 to 2 minutes once it has completed running. So loading of the model will take some time. The process is same. We load the model, we have a tokenizer, we tokenize it, then we get the future outputs. It can work as a helpful lawyer. It can draft a sample power of attorney document. Similarly, the way I was showing you, some startups are helping lawyers, assisting lawyers, and it can actually do that very well. I did read it fully, and it can talk about compensation, execution details, and it can write a sample document with dates, authority, everything. Now, definitely we need a human lawyer to verify these things, but it's a very good first starting point. Now, this can actually be used to create a simpler grading system. The ways many startups are selling grading systems to many universities and schools. Basically, like you can tell it that you're a teacher who's grading law school students, and you can talk about you want to grade on a scale to 10. You can talk about what you want in the grading part, right? It's a multiple choice question or whatever, right? Give the output, give the student responses, and tell it to grade it. Now, this is a reasoning model. It will grade it with the proper reasoning and everything. And finally, it will say that student 1 should get 5 out of 10 and why, right? It will give the feedback. Student should get 7 out of 10. Student 3 should get 8 out of 10. So there are startups which actually are using these LLMs for these kind of use cases. Many of these open source reasoning models for these kind of use cases. Or you can tell it to grade a 10th standard physics questions or math question or whatever. Like what is gravity, and several students have defined it at different levels. We waited for some time, and it will run and grade it for us. So these are the classes of model which are at a level where they can be graders, they can be lawyers, and these models are open source, so they are powering many startups. All right, let's go above and see if this model installation of libraries have happened. So libraries are installed. We are downloading the model. So let's give it maybe 1 more minute for the downloads to complete, and then I want to run some of these use cases, and then we'll move forward. Okay. Meanwhile, if there are any questions, you can let me know. Okay. You can write it in the chat, and I will actually answer them. Okay. So, okay. So downloading will take like, I think 1 to 2 more minutes. So let's wait for that. And this DeepSeek R1 distilled variant is like, I think probably 14 to 16 GB size. It's quite a big model. So let's go on the top. Yeah, so this is a 14 billion parameter model. So quite big model. Okay. So loading will take again some time. We have downloaded the model. We are going to load it. This is a more powerful GPU, so 40 GB RAM. All right. Okay. Okay. So once it has downloaded, let's actually ask it to solve one of the problem for us. So let us ask it to grade the gravity quotient for us. Okay. So you're a teacher, and we are going to give it to students and tell it to grade the students. For running, we are asking it to write 1,000 outputs into the future, which will include the grading part and whatever way we want it to grade. We can give it instructions to grade in a particular specific way. And that instructions are often passed down by startups to these models internally down the hood, and then they are running it there. Okay. Let's wait for a few seconds for the output to come. Okay, actually I have to define the function above. So let me go and define it. This one. Okay. And now output is already there. So let us just run this log output. Okay. Okay. So let me run it. Let's run it again. We are skipping certain cells to save the time. So we have to define certain functions. Let's wait for 15-20 more seconds for this to run. Okay, so let me not skip the cells. Let's go a little bit orderly fashion for this to work. Okay, let me define the query function and output function. Actually, there are certain functions defined in this notebook which I try to skip today. Let us just see the output. Okay. We are telling it to write 2,000 into the output, so it does take a like 1 to 2 minutes sometimes to write such a long output attorney statement, right? And let me also correct this function signature there. Let's just run this. Let me correct the function signature. Okay, so it's written this output for us, what you see, and print one. Problem was with the function signature, so let me correct that. Okay, so this one. Okay, and let's correct this function signature also. Okay, print result. Let's run the grading example again, and then we'll move forward with the talk. Okay, let's see the result directly. Let's give it 10 more seconds to run. Okay. So results, actually, you'll see actually it will assign these different grades to students. Student 1 grade, student 2 grade, and so on. All right. So the problem was actually with this function. And so now, okay. These grades are actually what a reasoning model is creating for us. So a long story short, these models have reached a stage where they can write outputs, they can grade outputs, they can reason about it, they can explain to a 6-year-old. The future which we're envisioning is all the knowledge which an expert human used to have to answer these complex questions. These models have it today, all right? Let's move further with the lecture, and I'll also next talk about some of the important things about fine tuning and how these models are actually fine tuned and whatnot. Okay. Okay, so our llama, so evaluate accuracy of these models. So accuracy actually was the benchmark which I shared in the starting, BBH. And there I was trying to show you that these models are as good as an expert human based on different criterias. And everyone running the same prompt will get same answers because in here I'm selecting the best probable output, best response. But you can actually select a stochastic one and then it will write slightly differently. Those writings will still make sense. They will still be correct grammarly. But those writings will actually may vary statistically differently if you select probabilistically, okay? So let's move further. So DeepSeek actually can create amazing things. It is like an O1 mini model in your notebook, which we just were running now. Quen model is another series of model. We just looked at Llama, DeepSeek, and Quen. They are actually like open source variants and they can do amazing things. The one thing I want to talk before we move further is the tokenization part more, to just show you one very important aspect actually. So there's a lot of question around how we can develop LLMs for Indian languages, right? We want them to handle our own use cases. So for this one, let's take example of Llama and say GPT-2. So Llama model is a more reasonable, more new model. I'll compare tokenizer of Llama and GPT-2 to show you certain things. Okay. So let's give it like 10 seconds more to run. And in the end, I'll share with you certain links to where you can find all these notebooks for you to run on your own. Okay. Training will like installing certain libraries will take again few seconds. We need these variants of libraries for these models to work. So let's give it a few seconds. What is going to happen is tokenization has evolved a lot. Like what you see this number conversion, and finally we are signing I love, like for example, if you give as input I love to see the sunset, do you, it converts into these tokens. I love to see the sunset, do you. And the Llama tokenization and GPT tokenization is shown here. For example, GPT will assign I40 love 1842 and so on. Llama will assign say I40 and love 3021. So this internally these companies have trained the tokenization slightly differently. GPT-2 is from OpenAI and Llama 3 is from Meta or Facebook. But English sentences, we don't lose any information. If you revert back, we get these sentences almost complete, But you let us give it a Hindi or a Punjabi sentence like life का सफर जिंदगी के राहों में चलता रहता है, right? And GPT-2, if you give it the tokenization, this multilingual, you will see that it doesn't understand anything other than English. It can understand life, but question mark, and then question mark. What is happening here is that these models were not trained for Indian languages. For these models to work on Indian languages, we need to fix this tokenization process and change the byte pair algorithm itself for it to handle Indian languages. Once it can handle it, then we need to fine tune and again train these models, basically. This GPT-2. Llama model can understand these Indian languages better. More recent model, it's a multilingual model. So if you give Llama life का सफर जिंदगी के राहों में चलता रहता है, you will see it will understand life. It can understand Hindi का सफर जिंदगी. It still cannot understand Punjabi actually. So it can understand more widely used Indian languages, but it cannot understand more like regional languages. Let us also talk about another aspect, Python coding. Say, if you throw this Python function at this model as input, in Python coding, we know that these spaces have meaning actually. For a model to work, to predict Python code, to write Python code for us, these spaces need to have meaning. If you throw GPT-2, you will see that for each space, it will assign a different token. This is different spaces are different tokens, But Llama model is more recent one. So for like these three spaces, we assigned one token. For these models to be better coders, for these models to be multilingual, we need to fix the tokenization process itself. So over time, with more and more use cases where we are trying to target this model for say Indian languages, for regional languages, for something you want to explain to Indian farmers in Hindi or in a local language, we need to work at the tokenization level basically. All right. Let's go above. Hopefully the installation has happened. It'll take probably some more time for this installation to complete. Okay. And then we'll run some of these examples. Okay, the installation is complete. So now it will work much faster. We are only going to do the tokenization per part, the first part. All right. And let's just download the tokenizers. Okay. And let's wait and see the first example from both of these models. Okay. Okay. So we have downloaded both of the tokens, and the first example which we saw here is it can actually understand English very well. So both of these work on normal English text very well. Let's throw a multilingual. And on the multilingual, you will see that the first does work like we discussed. Like first doesn't work. The GPT-2 doesn't work on Hindi or Punjabi, but the Llama 3 does work on, say, Hindi, like you see here. So multilingual support has to work at the tokenization level itself, the input space itself. All right. Let's continue further to more like important parts. There are other few important questions, right? So how to fine tune this model, right? And why we need fine tuning. So fine tuning is needed for alignment, like that's how GPT-3, all this model are created today. Fine tuning is also needed for many, many different use cases. For example, Perplexity fine tunes this Mistral and Llama variant of model. If you go online at Perplexity blogs, Perplexity is like used by many people, especially in the West and university space, and probably a lot of people in India are also familiar with it. But if you want to create a model which can be better coder, a reasoning agent, a question answering agent, a content generation agent, rather than we create something from scratch, we actually can start and build over this open source Llama, Mistral, like I was showing you, Llama model, DeepSeek model. You can use this open source notebook, fine tune them, and finally you can create, like the Perplexity creates their PPLX7B online, PPLS70B online models by fine tuning these models. Or I think many of you probably are aware of Grammarly. Grammarly is used a lot for fixing grammar mistakes, especially before GPT even like became so popular. It's also, but it's so like if you go online on Grammarly blogs, you will see they are fine tuning like a Flanty 5 model. This Flanty 5 model is another backbone. They're fine tuning like a 3 billion variant, 11 billion parameter variant, and create their co-edit models. And these models can fix the grammar mistakes. And this is where also we fine-tune Dracaris series of model. Like this is from my own team, where we can fine-tune these models and we can create variant. Dracaris is fine-tuned from Sequence series and Llama series of models. And by fine-tuning, we can create the models which actually can now be very good coders, and they can be very good question answering agents, or they can be very good usage agents for Perplexity or Grammarly and so on. How do we fine-tune? So I'll show you a working notebook of fine-tuning. But actually, I want to give you a meaningful example that why we need to fine tune. So if we directly use this model as it is, they work well, but they are not the best. So this running of these notebooks will take like 30 to 40 minutes. So I'm not running it, but I'll share with you how you can find this notebook and run it on your own. But for example, we are going to create, say, a news classification agent, a news classification task, right? So these are the real news articles I'm going to pick in this notebook. So the goal of this agent is to just classify news into 4 categories: world, sports, business, and science tech. News classification is a very real problem, like email classification, spam classification, or review classification. This is a very real problem. So we are going to take real news articles like WTO rules against US, EU, and sugar and whatnot. 120,000 news articles. If you don't fine tune the model, you use directly to classify news articles, right? What happens? Let us look at that. You don't fine tune the model, it's 83% accurate. We can see if the classification is accurate or not, right? And whenever it's making a mistake, I'm printing that. So it's 83% accurate if you don't fine tune it. But 83% accuracy is not good for a company. 83% accuracy is fine for experiment or for simple testing. But a company needs a 90+% accuracy for it to work in the real world. So that's how Perplexity needs a very high accurate model. Grammarly needs a very high accurate model. So open source models are good, but they are not specialized. To make it highly accurate, from 83% to say 90+, we'll fine tune it. So we'll take this data, Fine-tuning model is very similar to how we train AI. We need X and Y. It's a labeled data process. We need a supervised fine-tuning problem set up here. So that's why it's called SFT. We need X input and Y labels. So input here is actually the science, like classification of news, the input text, and label is actually what is the news type, is the world type, science, sci-fi, sports, and so on. So like any other X and Y problem you create with AI or ML, similarly, X is the input and Y is the label, like whatever we need it. We need train and test splits. We'll create all that before fine tuning, like its accuracy, like 81% on the test data. We fine tune it. Fine tuning is like going to take 30 minutes or so. Like in this one, it takes like 38 minutes to fine tune. Finally, after fine tuning, we'll check the accuracy on the test bar data, which is not used, and it is now 93% accurate. So this is where the magic lies in the companies, that you take these open source models. We have our own data sets of doctors, of lawyers, of Indian languages. We fine tune these models. And then finally, the accuracies are very high, like almost 10% boost. Fine tuning may take, like in this one, it is taking 38 minutes, but in a real example, in fine tuning, we often take 2 days to 1 week, depending on the size of data. If you want to create a best code, or if you want to create somebody who understands Hindi language or any other legal regional language, or you want to take somebody, you want to create an expert agriculture who can talk with, say, farmers in Hindi, we'll fine tune it for 28, 24 hours, 48 hours, 2 weeks, more or less, depending on the size of data, and you get this kind of accuracy boost. Okay, so I hope this is like one of the very critical and important part, and this is clear probably to the audience. Let's move further, and let me also discuss few other aspects. So how to fine tune it? You actually can find this video on my YouTube channel. Like I'll also share more details in that. But this fine tuning notebook and everything is like a short 13 minutes video. It talks about what is happening and why, and you can actually run it on your own to fine tune on your own use cases. All right. Chat templates, I didn't talk much, but chat templates are actually the way we do fine tuning. Like these are actually a model understand the context, like who is talking with it. You're telling it your goal is to classify news articles. You're telling it you're a teacher. You're telling it you're a doctor. So it's actually setting the context, who is speaking, what we are trying to tell the model to work on. And these are actually defined through extra tokens or specialized tokens. Most of the notebooks which you saw in the past, they already had this. So if you go back and relook it, you will see these different role indicators defined. One important question comes is, how do we collect this fine-tuning data, SFT data? All right. So let me stop the screen here. How many of you are using ChatGPT and it asks you to rate 2 different responses? Give me a thumbs up if you used it and it gave you 2 responses and tell you to rate one of them. Anybody did that recently? Okay, some of you did that. So that is actually where OpenAI is collecting data from all of you. So that is what we do recently. But before that, there was a different approach. All right. So let us look at that. And then I'll look at a more recent approach. Okay. So SFT data is actually collected where we make humans write the entire response. So like the label part actually comes from humans. So this is how first variant of GPT was created, where humans very like long responses were written by humans. It's very slow. Of course, it's painful, but this is how we created the first variant. Most recently is what is DPO is used. Instead of supervised fine tuning, we use DPO. DPO variant is actually where instead of human writing entire responses, you rate the responses, like which is better. So like, what is the capital of France? It can give you 2 different responses. The capital of France is Paris, or the capital of France is Berlin, and you rate the right one. Of course, this is a very simple example. In reality, the both responses are much similar, but humans prefer one style versus another. And that's like how the DPO is what OpenAI and most of the recent companies use to collect data. And this is what we use to train the AI models. Okay. I will actually show you DPO notebook as well, but basically the DPO notebook takes like 2 or 3 hours to train now. We need like more richer set of data. But after this DPO training, we can create the expert coder, expert doctor, expert lawyer, because this kind of data set is more easier to get from audience. All right. And this is what we use today in most of the companies to train these models. There are many different styles of DPO, but the baseline actually stays the same, that this paper, which is shown here, our archive paper link, I'll put it in the chat. This was the first DPO paper, and more and more variants are built over it. Our companies and over many of my team and research teams have also written certain papers on it. So let's move further. So let me actually come back to evaluation or benchmark question. Somebody was asking this. So I talked about MMLU benchmark in the early part of the slides, but there are many other benchmarks like IFEVAL, BBH, GPQA. These benchmarks are testing different things. IFEVAL benchmark is testing how good the model is to follow instructions. You tell the model to write in 2 lines, you tell the model to write in 1 word, right? Instruction following. BBH actually is hard reasoning problems. MMLU is actually massive multi-language understanding tasks. So it has like STEM problems, physics problems, math problems, all those things like what we saw earlier. Different benchmarks, different models are the best. So this screenshot I took like a few days ago, but if you go recently, you will find different models like Llama variants. Certain other companies are releasing their own models. Okay, we also release our own models on the benchmarks. But there's one very big question that how to make sure that we are not cheating in these benchmarks. When we are evaluating LLMs, how to make sure we are not cheating? This is a very hard question because this is actually billion dollar questions, billion-dollar investments are involved. If I have a company, I claim that I've created an LLM which is the best coder. How to evaluate it? Because if I just release the numbers, I can raise so much money from the investors. So much money involved, so much trust issues, right? How to make sure we don't cheat? So how we make sure that students don't cheat in exams? There's only one way. We change the exam every year, right? So if a university wants to make sure that the students don't cheat, the syllabus stays the same, but they change the exam every year. So we are testing the students on the same 10th board exams, but the papers are never the same. Similarly, the new benchmarks in LLMs, they are changed every month. The syllabus stays the same, the level of difficulty stays the same, but this live code bench or even live bench, my own papers, which I was showing you earlier, we change the test, you change the exam every month. So if somebody is training LLMs to fine tune on one variant of the exam or memorizing one variant of the exam, they cannot work next month. That's how we do it. All right. Now let me come to one of the most important question from this talk, that the future, how do we create these LLMs? If India like wants to create these LLMs, or if we want to create this LLM, if a company wants to create, what is involved, right? There are many hard questions behind the scene we have to answer to create these LLMs. Which model architecture to pick? What size of data set to use? What do we mean by internet scale data, right? So these hard questions actually are answered, like this is a Stanford slide, which I'm adding here for reference. Basically, different model architectures, the level of complexity depending on the size of GPUs we have. Size of data set again depend on what is the size of model we are going to pick and what is the size of GPU we have. So this is a well-studied problem in research. So when any country wants to create LLMs, there are different heuristics, different rules followed. And internet scale data means trillion tokens data. So fine tuning of the model on trillion token data means we are going to take, maybe if you're starting from scratch, probably going to take a month on like hundreds of GPU clusters. If you're starting fine tuning a model not from scratch, you're going to probably take 24 hours to 48 hours and so on the time. The cost of training, like for a Llama 405B model, if you look at the paper and you calculate the cost from the GPUs and all, you will see it's $50 million. Very, very costly process. So this entire slide, I want to make 2-3 points like before we reach in the end. These models are open source. You can build your use cases without spending $50 million. You can fine tune these models on like public data sets on the open GPUs, which like I was showing you in some of the notebooks. That is almost like free, but it can power many, many complex use cases like a student grader, a news classifier, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever you have in mind. Further, if you actually are trying to create a multilingual model which can work for Indian languages for different contexts, we have to play at the tokenization level to change the tokenization process itself. And that's like most of the Indian startups are doing today. All right. Then further, to answer many of these questions, I will like put these slides in the chat so you can kind of follow in your free time. These slides for like LLM from scratch. These slides are quite good, but they don't have demos. So I actually, when I created my slides, I wanted to show you some live working demos, so you actually see how these things are working in action, and you can also realize that you can run these things on your laptops using the cloud GPUs. All right. So let's move further. We will continue this for a few more minutes, and then I'll open the floor for any questions. And before the next session, you have like few minutes to spare. All right. So if you have any questions, please write it in the chat from the previous part. The next part, I want to show you one very important aspect, like with which we started with. So LLM part actually this is a very big part of AI, modern AI. It's powering a lot of future innovations. A lot of open source model, they are not very hard to use. They are not very hard to fine tune. They're as easy as any other AI ML problem. We need X and Y label data. The two big challenges, they are very resource hungry, so you need very powerful GPU machines. So we often end up using cloud. If you actually want to fine tune for hours and hours, we often have to pay these cloud vendors a lot of money. So that is the hard part, that cloud resources, the GPUs. And the second part is a very big data set. If you want to create a model which can work on Hindi language, we need a very, very big Hindi language data set. So that data is the hard part. Okay, all right. Let's continue further. But the cancer detection problem, which I discussed earlier, I want to complete that story with one last part in that story. That what are the issues in developing AI for the real world? If you want to create AI which can work in the real world, the conventional AI, the Gen AI real world comes from the size of data itself and a lot of tokenization processes and smartness. But in general, AI for the real world has so many challenges. For example, the similar disease classification problem, but instead of cancer, this is plant disease. If you want to create such a model, which can predict cancer, which can predict plant diseases, the real challenges come from the data part of the model, that we need the real data and we need this model to work on the real hardware platform, like on my smartphone. So the real data means that healthy plants, of course, will look many different variants, many different angles. Like this is a healthy tomato plant, this is a healthy bell pepper. These photos of the phone, like for this to work on my phone, for this to work on a farmer's phone, the orientation of images, the lightning, it may be cloudy, it may be rainy. Now, so many different data variations are possible. All right. Second challenge is the hardware platforms. We need to run on a smartphone. So you need to create a model which can fit on the smartphone. And then the data, you might have only few thousand images. So with few thousand images, the model may never learn. So we need to do certain smartness for the AI to work in here. So for like this example, which you're seeing is actually incorporating all this smartness. We can collect this photo and it will actually tell us this is a tomato leaf model. It's working on a smartphone. It's recording from my own phone. It's actually saying what is the disease, all right? How we solve this problem? The data problem we solve with two different things. One thing is we actually do a lot of different intelligent augmentation. So this is the original leaf training image. We can create so many variant, like different lightning variations, orientations, what you see here, some noises on the surroundings and different variation. We are creating all these variations because the real world has all of these variations in it. So brightness, zoom, rotation, these are all needed, all right? The second story is we often cannot start with a model of any type. Depending on the use case, like mobile optimized models, we want to run this on smartphone, we can pick a mobile net variant rather than a ResNet model, which is a good accurate model. A lot of tutorials on ResNet, but we often can go with the more optimized model, like a mobile net which can work on mobile or edge device, limited RAM, and so on. So you select the model which can work for the real scenarios. Let me show you the notebook in action, and we will not run the notebook, but this actually notebook will show that with all of this augmentation, we can actually train an AI, and I'll show you later on, we can transfer this AI to the smartphone actually. Again, the first step is to download the data. Downloading data will take this will be much faster because these are images. So let's just leave the data download happening. Okay. Finally, this is the data which we download. These are the real plant with the diseases named on them. We need like healthy plants and plants which have certain diseases like already labeled for us. Okay. The training images may look quite different, but this is the variant where I am showing you that many different augmentations are added. For example, these are the augmentation of one leaf, like many different orientations that we are creating. Why we are creating it? Like in cancer example, I didn't do this. But if you want to transfer this example to the real phone, we need this many different variations for this model to work in the real world. Otherwise, this model will not work. It will show you very good accuracy, but when you click a photo of the real plant, a different orientation, it may never work. We need all these augmentations to be part of it. Now, instead of creating our own model, which I did in the previous example of cancer, we'll actually create a model from a well-trained model. We can take an AI, which is already out there, trained on ImageNet, like this AI is trained open source AI, like we were fine-tuning a Llama model, we can fine-tune a Quen model. We can also fine-tune, or we can transfer learning on another MobileNet variant of model, add a few changes to it, and this model can now, like it's a very intelligent model with a lot of things already done in the research. We fine tune this model, and now we'll see that this model actually can reach very high accuracy. Like it can reach like 90% accuracies on that validation set. And the test accuracies are also similarly very high, like around 91%. Now, this is the accuracy on test which will transfer to the real world. We took a well-studied model, which is very well known in the research, a mobile-friendly model. We did all the augmentations to make sure we can work in the real world. Finally, this is the model which will work in the real world. Like you'll see these augmentations and predictions that it's actually able to do all this. Okay. So let me just go above and start this training. We'll not finish the training. Let me just start the training to show you. And I'll now, before concluding, we'll answer certain questions. Okay. Let me just stop the share and let's go further. Okay. With this model trained, like the most important part is to selection of the pre-trained AI, which can actually work on the smaller data sets and can make these models. All right. If you have a model in notebook, transferring it to mobile device is all other different problem. So we often use like TensorFlow Lite formats. These are new formats which are very lightweight, designed for the AI to run mobile and meta devices. These TensorFlow Lite formats are converting this model into a format which we can run on Android devices or iPhone devices. All right. So you can also quantize the model using these formats. You can optimize many things. You can also benchmark and see which layers are slow and then remove those layers, or find an alternative layers for that. All of these things are done by companies when they're creating models which can run on real devices on edge or on mobile phones. So this is actually a GitHub link where most of this code of mobile Android transfer is available with proper documentation. I'll just put it in the chat. So, and you can use this to actually run these models on your phones. This one, the pre-trained model which is there in the app, is actually a MobileNet model. It is transferring laptop, or you can transfer jacket, or like you can select these kind of things. But you can replace this MobileNet model with your own MobileNet, and it can do now disease classification and so on, whatever you want to do with your own use cases. All right. So short summary is, in this entire loop, the sensing, computation, actuation, environment, so many changes are involved to work in the real world. The sensing has to be done smarter. We do augmentations. The AI which is making decision needs to be optimized for it to run on the mobile phones and so on. Okay. Now, before I conclude, I want to kind of go to the end of the talk and let us skip few of the slides, and I want to show you how you can learn more about this. Okay. So most of the things which I discussed today are available on my YouTube channel. It's called Machine Learning School. Like different classes are available. So these are recordings from live lectures. Around 15 to 20,000 students are enrolled from 200 plus schools of Punjab, and there many of these live lectures were conducted by me in the past few months, and many of the recordings are available. Age of Intelligence, AI, cancer demos, ChatGPT training, OCR trainings, running this AI in Colab, and answers many different questions. So we probably, and all of these videos actually have access to notebooks and so on. So you can learn more on the channel and find out most of these notebook slides and everything is there. All right. I'll stop here and I'll end the talk here. So future AI use cases, basically wherever a smart decision making is needed, we can create an AI model, be it human text, be it images, any use case which you have in mind. We can have a smart brain there replacing human like smartness. That's like the conclusion of this session you can take, and future sessions on FDP will build over and with more details in these parts. So I hope you understood some parts of it. And give me a thumbs up if you followed along some of the high level parts of the talk, and I'll stop here and I'll wait for any questions from the audience. We have like roughly 4 or 5 more minutes before the session ends. So if you have any questions, please go ahead. All right. So back to the organizers, I think if there are any questions, Later on, you can reach out to me on my email. I'll just write my email. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, please go ahead.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, here myself, Mr. Rajesh. Actually, I have a small query regarding this. What type of application we can apply this LLM in medical field? Can you brief about, you talk about big data, right? Whether it will be related for medical data like big data analysis, will it be useful? Or in image side, image processing, like you thought about disease reduction. Like, so can we apply in that cases this LLM? Because most of the cases the people follow the deep learning till now and transfer learning. But general AI have implemented nowadays. So I need to know in what way LLM is able to play a role in medical imaging or medical data. Based on your experience, can you give some new research idea?
Yeah, that's a good question. So medical data, you can think in two ways. One is the text medical data. So LLMs actually are used a lot. We are fine tuning these LLMs on the text medical data, and they're like super assistant to doctors. Today, actually, you can click a photo with your phone and ask GPT to explain a medicine, and it will tell you very nicely what this medicine is, what this medicine is used for. So it's OCR built in, and then it's explaining the medicine. So LLMs, multilingual LLMs, especially the Llama series, multilingual LLMs are open source. You can actually fine tune these LLMs on medical data, on the lawyer data, on agriculture data. Like I was showing you in the news classification data, I was showing you a toy example because news classification fine tuning we can do in 30 minutes. More complex data set, more larger data set, it will take 1 to 2 days, but you can fine tune these LLMs. Medical use cases are like, depending on the data, now these LLMs can answer your questions about medical diseases. They can answer your questions on USMLE. USMLE is like the medical entrance exam of US, like similar to NEET exam in India. So these LLMs can be very good exam solvers for medical science. They can be very good disease diagnostics. They can be early line of defense, like answering questions about medicines. So whatever an expert doctor can do today, based on their learning from the data, they are trained through different medical science degrees. That all learning we can more or less distill into these LLMs today. I was showing you like how Perplexity is fine-tuning their models, how Grammarly is fine-tuning, how law firms are fine-tuning. Similarly, medical firms are also able to do this. All right. The image side, definitely, there are multilingual models. Multilingual models can directly take image and text as input and can write outputs. Since this was like an introductory session, I didn't went into details of multilingual models to not confuse the audience, but they are not any hard. The process is similar. Like images are given as separate input from a different head, and text is given a tokenized input. Notebooks are actually the similar, like what I was showing you. There's a lot of research, scope of research in NLP domain due to LLMs. Like there is a question in the chat. Okay. That lot of scope of research. These LLMs are just like first generation. You can say we are trying to make them best coders, best lawyers, best doctors. Lot of research around hallucination, correctness. Lot of research around explaining these outputs, because we are using now these LLMs in more and more and more critical applications, like in doctor application, in lawyers application. We want these models to explain themselves. So a lot of research is happening there. We want these LLMs to work on Hindi, on Punjabi, on say Bengali, or like Haryanavi, on any other Indian regional language. So a lot of research around tokenization processes. Basically, you pick any use case. Lot of research is happening here. All right. Please let me know if there are any more questions.